This week we are going to be drawing pumpkins, and then we are going to practice a skill called blending. Keep in mind that we are still learning how to blend. Today it's probably not going to go perfectly and it might even be a little bit tricky. But the only way to get good at something is to practice. So if you get frustrated today, just remember that it's okay. We are simply learning and practicing how to blend. First, I'm going to take you step by step on how to draw a pumpkin, but if you would like an extra resource, in the Google Classroom there is a document that has step-by-step instructions. In drawing our pumpkin today, we are going to begin with an oval. As we do this, keep in mind that pumpkins are not perfectly round. So if your oval is a little bit misshaped, that's okay. Also notice that my oval is about as tall as my hand. If you make it too small, then you will not have a lot of room to practice our blending today. For my next step, I'm adding curved lines on both sides of my oval. These are going to be the next sections of our pumpkin, and they are not perfect either. They have a little bit of a wave to them. I'm going to add another section on each side of the first ones that I made. And then I'm gonna kind of work with this to make it my pumpkin. Right now, my drawing looks kind of flat, and that's because it has no shading and color. So once we start blending, it's really going to start looking round. At the top of my pumpkin, I'm going to add my stem. You can do whatever type of stem you like. I'm just doing a very basic curved one. And then I'm gonna add a few curly vines on the side just to give it some character. As always, you can do whatever you like. You could add some leaves, you could do vines like I am. It's totally up to you. Before we start blending, you are going to need red, orange, and yellow crayons. If you have multiple shades of reds and oranges and yellows, it would be great to use them all. This is also a really awesome project for oil pastels. However, I know that we don't all have those at home. But keep in mind that if you have oil pastels, this would be a great project to use them for. My red, orange, and yellow colors are not only warm colors, but they are those analogous colors which are next to each other on the color wheel. Because they are next to each other, that means they are neighbors, and they are going to blend nicely together. Alright, before we get started, I need you to keep in mind that blending takes patience. It also takes time. So when you are practicing today, take your time and do not rush through it. We are going to start by taking a regular orange crayon and lightly coloring our whole pumpkin. Notice that when I'm coloring, I'm trying so hard to fill up all of those white spaces, and I'm also coloring lightly so I am not pushing down hard on my paper. So your goal right now is to fill your whole pumpkin with a plain orange, press lightly, and fill up all of that white space. So our goal is to make our pumpkin look 3D. And the way to do that is by mixing all of these different reds, oranges, and yellows. So now that you have neatly colored in your pumpkin with a plain orange, we are going to start layering and adding other colors on top. Blending is when you take different colors and you kind of mix them in the middle, so it looks like a small change from dark to light. When you look at my pumpkin, you notice that the indents are a little bit darker because there's shadows. So our goal is to create that shadow-like effect. I now want you to pick almost like a red-orange crayon. It's not exactly red, but it's that darker orange. You're going to lightly trace over your pencil marks on the edge of each oval. Now we are going to take our other red-orange, and we are lightly going to color at the top of each section. Once again, I'm not pressing very hard, and I'm following the edge of that pumpkin section. So I'm lightly just making my line almost to look a little bit thicker, and then at the top, I'm filling that in a little bit. I'm trying to make it almost look like a shadow. Once I finish that little top section, I'm going to go to the bottom and I am going to do the same thing. I need to do this to each section of my pumpkin. So I'm starting along the edge. I'm lightly adding some red orange, and I'm going to repeat this all the way across my pumpkin. Now I'm going to take my plain original orange, and I'm going to add another layer on top of everything I've just colored. So I'm not pressing super hard, but I am pressing a little bit harder than I have been, and I am just going to color over top of everything that I have done. This is going to fill in more of those white spaces, and it's even going to darken up that red orange that I just put down. We've done lots of coloring already, so now is a great time to stretch your hands. I always like to do some hand stretches when I'm doing lots of coloring and drawing, and I think it would be a great idea for you to do it as well. After stretching, we are going to get our regular red, and we are lightly going to go over top of our pencil marks and the edge of each section in our pumpkin. This is like the shadow or the darkest part of the pumpkin. So we want it to look like there are grooves that go into the pumpkin. For our last color, we are going to take that yellow, and we are just going to blend a little bit of it in the middle of our pumpkin. I know it doesn't show up super bright, but it's just going to lighten the center of our pumpkin. Last but not least, we are going to color the stem of our pumpkin and the vines or leaves. So I'm just going to go with a basic brown. I'm going to neatly fill that in, and then I will take some green and outline my stems. Keep in mind, once again, that blending is something that takes a lot of practice. Today was just about learning what blending is and getting a feel for it. So once again, if you felt like blending was really tricky, that's okay. It's going to take time. But when you are finished, I would love for you to turn in a photo to the Google Classroom so I can see your awesome pumpkin creation. Also, don't forget, turning in your photo counts as attendance for the week.